Now, you may have heard that a Moscow court has banned Scientology, stating that it's not religion. The Russian Ministry of Justice found that the word Scientology was in fact a registered trademark, which meant that it doesn't comply with Russia's law on freedom of religion and therefore could not be practiced. It's such a secretive religion. Clearly, Russia doesn't think it is a religion. So we thought, how does it work? What is involved with Scientology? Conversations kind of stop pretty quickly with it. So we are going to speak to Pete Griffiths, who is a former Scientologist of 7 years. Good morning to you, Pete.
Good morning, Kaye. How are you?
I'm very well indeed. And I believe you now run a website which is xscientologist.co.uk. Is that right?
That's right. We set it up to help people who had problems with the organisation.
Right. I mean, are you allowed to talk about it as an ex-Scientologist? Because, as I say, I mean, it does have such a kind of air of mystery and sometimes a kind of sinister air of mystery around it, Scientology, that you hear all these stories that if people who have been within the church, start talking about it, that there are consequences for that.
Absolutely right. If they had their way, nobody would be allowed to say anything critical at all about Scientology. Certainly current members, ex-members, and the media, they absolutely detest the fact that we have freedom of speech and we can say what they like. So, no, they don't allow it, they don't like it, and they would love us all to stop talking about them.
Right, so who are they and what is it?
Well, they is simply the Church of Scientology and the current members. See, they're very clever in the way that they hoodwink their existing members into thinking that they're under attack from all these terrible sources. Like, for example, they're going to now cite the Moscow court as being against them. And the Moscow court is quite simply pronouncing a legal argument that, if you have trademarks, what's a religion doing with trademarks? Scientology is not a religion as we understand the word religion. That's for certain.
So what is it then?
Well, what they claim it is a system of techniques whereby you can realize your true potential. And they say that your true potential is as an immortal spiritual being with unlimited potential, so you can be what you like and do what you like, which is kind of a positive message. The truth, however, is far worse. The truth is that the organization itself is just organized fraud, and they're on trial in Belgium right now on that charge, and they were found guilty in France 6 years ago on the same charge. So it's not what they say it is. The current members are hoodwinked, and ex-members obviously are trying to warn new members, new potential members, and existing members to get them to wake up and realise that the wool is being pulled over their eyes, basically.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I would have to say, Pete, that whilst we have contacted the Church of Scientology about this decision by Russia, we have not contacted them about any allegations that you are making. So we would have to say that these are very much your assertions and not ones that we can necessarily back up. And I'll just take the opportunity to read the statement from them. This is from UK Scientology, and they're referring, of course, to this decision in Russia, saying, when decisions like this are handed down, everyone loses. This decision affects not only the Church of Scientology of Moscow, it's a sign of disease in the justice system. The Church's Moscow branch made that statement. The court upheld what representatives of the Church believe to be a biased policy pursued by the Ministry of Justice towards the Church of Scientology of Moscow. So there you go. That's what they've got to say about it. Maybe we should stick to Pete. What was your experience as a member of this church?
Well, initially I got involved to improve myself, and they convince you that you can improve, and I think there's nothing unreasonable about that. I think the dangerous part of it comes when you travel along the road a little way and you find that those courses that were costing £90 are suddenly costing 300, 1,000, 5,000 and going up. And of course, no one can really afford that kind of thing. So you can fall out with them for very, very many different reasons. That's when the problems start. Right. If you have a family member who's critical of them, or even a friend who's critical of them. They persuade you to have nothing to do with them because they claim that the family member or friend's holding you back from benefiting yourself, and they're trying to slow the world down, and they're the only people who can save the world. It's quite a big, convoluted subject. We have a lot of information on the site, ex-Scientologysilent.co.uk, and there's a lot of information freely available online. I think Googling the word Scientology would be an eye-opener for a lot of people.
I'm sure it will. I'm sure it will. And there was a documentary recently that got a lot of publicity as well. So, but just sticking with nuts and bolts, Pete, was it expensive for you to be a Scientologist?
Well, when I left, I'd lost a house and a car. I'd managed to keep hold of my wife, which was a good thing. But I'd lost my job as well. So my whole life was upside down.
How did you lose a house and a car?
I sold them. I sold them to basically keep myself going and pay for Scientology. At one time when we were working for the organization, we were actually working for nothing, and yet we had to pay a babysitter. So, I mean, we had to find our own money. They obviously, we weren't paid. We were promised we'd be paid, and we weren't paid. So we were lied to right there.
And what was it that kept you in there that it would make you take such a dramatic step as to sell your house?
Question.
Yeah, I know.
It's when you fall for all of these things, you know, I mean, like we fell for the claim that Scientology has that they want to create a world without insanity, criminality, and war. And who's not going to agree with those aims? So you align yourself with those aims. It's only when you realize that you've been conned and that they're actually doing nothing to forward those aims. In fact, they're actually making the place worse. I was going to say something there, but I won't say. But
thank you.
There's been a recent development in the States again that they don't want people to know about. Anything about Scientology can be found because we have freedom of information and we are allowed to discuss the subject. And it can all be made available to anybody who cares to look for the truth about Scientology, not what they say it is.
Yeah, I mean, and clearly, Pete, you are free to tell your own personal story and your own experience, and clearly your experience was not a positive one. I mean, I get to say the very least. But again, just on the kind of nuts and bolts of the structure of this organisation, does it have a divine being? Is it?
No. The God in Scientology is money. They will deny this, but I'm talking from my experience.
Right.
Money is the God. If you can pay for stuff, they will forgive you anything. It is incredible how if you've got the money and if you're paying them, they will literally let you away with all kinds of terrible things that we would consider crimes. Now, what organisation does that apart from organised crime organisations? It's scary. It is actually scary, and we have a saying, it's worse than you think, and it is worse than you think.
Yeah.
The smiling faces of John Travolta and Tom Cruise are not the reality of Scientology.
Yeah, well, I mean, clearly that is your experience, and I have to qualify this, Pete, and as I'm sure you know that I do, because I mean it is a very wealthy organisation, very well organised, with a great reach, and many people I'm sure who make their choices to be in it. But Pete, thank you very much for giving us your experience on that, and of course, if anyone from UK Scientology would like to respond to Pete's experience, then they're more than welcome to do so on this show, 0500 92 95 00.